Okay, welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. I'm very privileged to have Alix Wilton Regan with me today. Thank you for helping me pronounce your name properly.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. I've just been looking down your IMDb list, and I was just like, wow, she's been in like most of my favorite games of all time, which is amazing. I also noticed you were just in, I think 2017, The Wife.
Yes, I was. Well, we finished filming it in 2017, and then I think it premiered at TIFF. It premiered at TIFF in 2017. It was released in 2018, but then it came back into the cinemas at the beginning of this year, 2019, because Glen was nominated for a Best Actress Oscar in 2019. So it kind of had this very big, long life. Yeah, which was really fun, actually, really good.
Yeah, she's fantastic. What was it like working with? Because she was your mother, the character, is that right?
A minute, yeah. I mean, it's Glen Close. You know, she's like she's a megastar, and she's amazing, and she's warm, and she's generous, and she's fantastically interesting to watch because she's done so much work. You know, and but also, you know, Jonathan Pryce. It was my second time working with him because I worked with him on the stage in King Lear in London, and he's so intelligent, and so they're just so interesting and intelligent and good at their jobs, and you just want to absorb everything from them all the time, you know. So yeah, it was special. It was special.
I know you started in theatre, I believe. Is that right?
Sort of. I mean, I went to drama school, so I think my first job was actually in Doctors, which the very famous BBC daily television show. My grandfather was thrilled because he was a GP. So I did Doctors and I did Casualty before he died, and unfortunately I didn't get Holby. But that's the goal, is to do a whole episode, and I've done the trilogy of the three British medical dramas. So actually, really, I think I started in TV. It would be fair to say.
Okay. When did you get the bug for doing voice? Because I know you've done like animation as well. Obviously, some high-profile games. What is it that makes you keep going back to?
Well, I think in terms of going back to it now, I'm just lucky enough to be working in it, if that makes sense. So actors tend to end up getting streamlined into a category that they work more in. So, for example, you know, Glen is obviously predominantly a movie star, then a TV star, then a theatre megastar, you know. So she does cross a lot of borders, but she's known mainly as being a movie star, if you think about it that way. And so you tend to end up being offered more work in the medium that you're already working in. So because I've now done quite a few video games, I get offered quite a few video games. And I love them because sometimes it's, you know, it can very easily be more work than a feature film or more work than a television series. You know, Ghost Recon, I think I started in recording that in April of this year, and I'm still recording. So that's a lot, you know. And it's an incredible journey as an actor to have a character for that long and have your character go through so much within that space of time.
Do you have a particular character that you love, like that's your favorite, that you would choose to, if they said we're doing another part to this, you would be like, yeah, I'm there? Or is it too hard to choose a baby?
Oh, it's really hard to choose a baby because they all do different things, right? So like Sabine in Divinity Original Sin 2 is super sassy, so I love that. And it's the same with Carillion. Carillion in Warhammer Vermintide she's like really aggressive and angry all the time, and she's also very high status, so she's a lot of fun to play. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So she's a lot of fun to play. And then the Inquisitor in Dragon Age, they always have the richest writing, I find, and obviously that's really enticing as an actor to play wonderful lines and wonderful dialogue. Like BioWare are very, very high caliber on the writing and the depth of the story.
Could one thing in this fucking world just stay fixed?
But, you know, Aya in Assassin's Creed, spoiler alert, block your ears at the next bit if you haven't played Assassin's Creed Origins, But, you know, Aya in Assassin's Creed, she's the founder of the Creed. She's the mother of the Creed. That's a huge honor. And she's also such a badass, you know? She's like a mega badass. She's very principled. She's very honorable. She has this incredible relationship with Bayek. So it's really hard to choose. And then also at the same time, you know, Samantha Trainer in Mass Effect 3 that came out ages ago now. I mean, really, it came out ages ago. But that was quite groundbreaking at the time, to have this lesbian character who was just there for her own satisfaction, for in her own autonomous way, having this relationship with FemShep that you couldn't have if you were playing as male Shep. And I thought that was really cool and quite groundbreaking. So they all give you a little bit of something different. And there's nothing, you know, there's no such thing as like the perfect character, you know? Each project gives you a little bit of something.
I was looking at Squadron 42.
Yes.
The cast in that is ridiculous.
I know.
Like, the list is epic.
There's me. There's like Gary Oldman, and Hamill, Gillian Anderson, Andy Serkis, me. It is ridiculous, I agree.
Are you doing mocap for that?
Yes, I'm doing it's actually called performance capture. So quite often when you say mocap, that just means the body, which is a slightly different job to, well, I mean, sorry, people use mocap as interchangeable. Mocap can mean full performance, but in this case, because I'm doing face, body, voice, I call that performance capture because it captures the whole performance.
Yeah. What's that like compared to, I guess, doing Assassin's Creed or just a voice role? Say just a voice role, but
I actually performance captured the whole thing. So that's actually miscredited on IMDb, and I think it's miscredited on. I think sometimes on IMDb the credits just are miscredited quite a lot of the time. There's actually in Assassin's Creed, myself and the other 6 sort of main parts in the game. So myself, Bayek, Cleopatra, Caesar, blah, 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 all those characters. We were actually flying back and forth to Montreal to performance capture that for over a year. So that was full performance capture as well. That was quite intense. And performance capture in general, it's such a good question. How is it different? Sometimes your performance could potentially end up being more naturalistic, I would say, because you're there in the space with the other actors. So you're not acting in a vacuum, just in a booth by yourself. I like my hand gestures, in a booth by yourself. It's like disco time. So maybe it's sometimes more naturalistic. Sometimes it's slower. Because you're doing more as opposed to just doing the line. So obviously it can be a bit slower. That also has its pros and its cons. You know, pros, you have more time to investigate. Cons, it can be a bit boring, can drag a bit sometimes. I don't know. I actually don't know how to answer that. They just give me different things, you know? So a voiceover session normally doesn't record for more than 4 hours because it's so vocally straining on your voice box and on your vocal cords and stuff. But a performance capture shoot, you will shoot the whole day as if you were on a film set, and it feels like you're on a film set, you know, because you have cameras literally all around you. So they just feel differently. And a performance capture shoot is run, I would say, quite similarly to a film set as well. So timekeeping and costume is your motion capture suit, you know. Hair and makeup involves scraping your hair back and putting your dots on, but it's still sort of vaguely in that park.
Okay. I love how sexy everybody looks in those suits. You kind of just have to be yourself.
It's a really good leveler, especially after lunch where everyone gets a little bit bigger around the belly, you know.
Yeah. I was interested because you obviously you go to a few, I guess, Comic-Cons, MCNs. What do people recognize you more for now? Like when they come out, is it Assassin's Creed Origins because that's more recent, or is it Mass Effect?
It seems to be. It kind of seems to be like interestingly, my top favorite characters are the ones that they also recognize. Yeah. So there's always Inquisition fans, always. There's always Assassin's Creed fans. There's always Mass Effect fans. And actually, Sabine and Carillion from Divinity and Warhammer, they do get a lot of love. So I would say that's a sort of 5 main thing that I'm known for. But, you know, I have other stuff in the pipeline too, so it might all change.
Okay. If there was a passion project, either a game or a film, what would you love to try out at?
A passion project.
Like any character or person.
Ooh, any character or person. I've always wanted to play Hamlet. Just fucking mad because he is fucking mad. But I'd love to do Hamlet on stage. In film, I would love to do something like I like the big literary greats in a way. So something like Nora from A Doll's House, which is a play but could be adapted into a film, would be really interesting. I like playing historical figures, so I just finished playing Mary Shelley in a feature film.
I saw that, yeah.
I really enjoyed that. You know, that's super interesting. So basically the idea of getting under someone's skin, someone that the public knows, for example, Mary Shelley, but we don't know. If that makes sense. We know her, but we don't know her. So going into something really deep like that, I find that quite fascinating as an idea. And passion projects. Just anything with a good script and a good director, really. It all starts and finishes with the script. Whatever medium you're working in, radio, film, theatre, television, video game, always starts with the script, I would say.
And for young aspiring actors and voice actors, is it about who you know, apart from what you're studying, or is it on the basis of your work beforehand?
So I think what's happened, what's changed in the industry, this is how I understand it. Because remember, I've only been doing it 10 years, which is a long time, but that's not as long as some other people that I know in the industry, who are maybe in their 60s or 70s. So the impression I get is that it used to be called voice acting, and the focus was on the voice. So you didn't have to be an actor. The sense I get now is you really have to be an actor first and a voice second. So I think that really to be a voice actor, I think the clue is in the word actor. So I think it would be the path of going to drama school or taking evening classes or finding your voice as an artist first, then discovering your voice as my voice can do this, my voice can do that, my voice can do this accent, my voice can do that accent. First and foremost, you are going to be hired as an actor because that's your job, is to act. And first and foremost, you're not going to be being hired for your American accent, your Scottish voice, because they can get someone to do that who is American or Scottish. I happen to be very, very lucky that I have a talent for accents, which, by the way, I didn't even know that before I started. No, but I really didn't, you know. I did not know that I fell into that category. And now there's a category called multi-voice, which just means you can do lots of different types of voices. And I'm very lucky to be there.
You were right, Rufus. Seagull is an idiot.
You know? But a lot of the time, people aren't required to do multi-voices. They're just hired for their voice, their natural voice, and then the character comes through that voice. So I think it really is about the acting focus, actually. I don't think it's about who you know. I didn't know anyone in the business at all. None of my family, none of my friends are in any of the acting industry. It has made it harder than being born into a dynasty, let's say, of actors with a famous surname. Of course it's harder. But I feel very proud of what I've achieved by myself because of that. And I feel very, very lucky. You know, I feel very lucky that BioWare chose to cast me in the original, you know, Dragon Age Origins. That was what kicked it off, was the first Dragon Age. That really started everything. Without that,
I'm Alix Wilton Regan and I play the Inquisitor.
I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have been invited back to the video game company. Maybe I wouldn't have been invited back by the casting director, you know? So I'm fully aware of how lucky I've been, like hardcore aware.
Can you speak a bit about rejections? Because I spoke to Jay Britton, and he spoke a little bit about, just having to have that kind of frame of mind where rejections isn't a bad thing because you're going to get it a lot. What has that been like for you? And I was wondering if it's harder because you're a lady and we're only now kind of changing our perspective on things like that.
Oh man, I fucking hate rejection. Fucking hate rejection. I mean, good for Jay if he's got it mastered. I do not have this whole rejection mastery thing down. I'm horrendous with it. I would say that the biggest reason for me that I regularly think about leaving the acting industry, and I do, and I'm relatively successful, I would say, relatively. I think about leaving the industry on a quite regular basis, and it is because of the level of rejection. For me, it is almost unbearable, Now, I've been acting longer than Jay, so it could be that. Do you see what I mean? I actually find other actresses quite supportive. I've been very lucky with that. I don't see this kind of this idea of bitchy female rivalry. I don't see that. And also, I don't play for that. I don't go in for that. I want my fellow female actors to do well. But there is so much emphasis on what does a woman look like. You are too tall, too fat, too thin, too short, too ugly, too beautiful, too young, too old. I have been rejected for literally every single possible thing you could imagine. My favorite one was when I was younger, people would be like, you just don't seem like a 23-year-old. And I'm like, but I literally am 23. This is what a 23-year-old. I'm literally 23 years old, And I just remember earlier this year, I got rejected for being too young and pretty. And I was like, but when I'm old and grey, you're going to tell me I'm too old and grey. So it's a madness. It's a complete madness. And I think the thing that does drive me mad is when you see, producer's daughter got the role. With the director got the role. Of course, that drives you mad, And of course, lists are quite closed and quite difficult to get onto. You have to have an agent selling you really, really hard to even get you through the door, never mind getting the job. But I think if there's one thing I could say about rejection, it would sort of focus on that. What I've realized now is you are incredibly privileged if you have even been asked to audition. If you have been allowed in that room, it means the casting director thinks that you could be right for the job. That's a privilege. If you've been invited into the audition booth or asked to submit a tape from your audition booth at home, it means you are considered to be a possibility, and therein lies the sort of the privilege and the grace of that moment, because you probably won't get the job. That's a fact. You probably won't, They're seeing 10 people, 20 people, 200 people, who the fuck knows how many people, but your percentage of getting a job is tiny. Oh, and by the way, here's the big one. You may get in the room. You may finally get a job, your only job of that year. And then the film financing falls through and the entire production crumbles and you no longer have that role that was going to change your life.
No.
Oh, it's happened to me, and I've seen it happen to far bigger actresses than me. Names that if I said, you'd be like, sorry, what? But she's like famous. And I'm like, I know, I've seen, oh my God, I've seen roles where actresses who are like Oscar nominated actresses have had their entire role cut from the film. So you go in the room, you do the audition, you finally get a job. The film financing holds, you shoot the film, and your entire part ends up on the cutting room floor. So you are no longer in that film. It's madness, It is a fucking stupid job. To the point, it's all complete madness, basically. And it's a really hard business. And, one of my favorite producers always says, fucking stupid job. And he's right, fucking stupid job. You don't do it if there's anything else you can do, and I can really put my hand on my heart and say, I have wanted to do this basically since I can remember. So since I was 3 or 4, I never wanted to do anything else. And at this point, I feel like if there was anything else I could do, I probably would, because it involves a lot of sacrifice, a lot of heartbreak, and it's really hard work. It's also the most fun you can have with your clothes on. So that's what you do it, you know?
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I like that. Thank you for being so real with it. Not many people will like tell you how it is. Because sometimes they just make it all floating. That's all good, it's fine, don't worry about it, just keep going. But actually, the reality behind it is you've had to work so hard for the position you're in.
Yeah, and then in the first few years of your career, you're going to be paid absolute crap. And you're then going to have to give away 20% of your paycheck to your agent. You're also permanently broke, you know? Oh, and if you're a woman, on top of being broke and sidelined and blah, 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 you also have the thing of, you know, you get paid £100 for a day's work. You give 20% of that to your agent, and the other 20% you've spent on, you know, dyeing your hair and going to the gym and having a facial. So I personally feel that actresses should get paid considerably more on the basis that we have to spend considerably more on our appearance. But
at least equal. I mean, flipping heck, I still see the salaries.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts on that one.
Wow. Well, please don't quit, because you've been in some of my favourite escapisms, especially of recent, like with Assassin's Creed Origins. Just to see the two, I guess the contrast of male and female and playing on both sides.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
And obviously Samantha in Mass Effect, because great character. Always makes me smile. Yeah. So, what's next for you that you can talk about?
What's next for me? Still working on Ghost Recon. There's some good stuff to come there.
That's interesting. Is that DLC? Because the game's obviously out.
That is DLC stuff at this point in time, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say that.
I can cut that out. I can cut it out.
But I think because the game's released, I think it's fine, you know? So still doing stuff on Ghost Recon, shooting lots of stuff for Squadron 42. That's looking amazing. The universe is insane that they are building.
Is that going to be as big as I think it is?
It's absolutely huge. Yes, absolutely huge. It's breathtaking and it looks amazing, you know?
Right, I was like, this looks crazy, but it's from a Kickstarter. So
yes, I know. He did so
my
well.
mind just goes.
And then I recorded 2 really big other video games this year that I was super impressed by, that are both going to be released in 2020, so next year, that you will definitely hear about because they're very, very, very big games. And I think they're going to be really good, actually. Just objectively, the scripts are good. They were fun to film. And what else? There might be a feature film that's kind of in the pipeline. We're waiting for the Mary Shelley film to come out, see how that breaks. So it's all good.
Yeah, it
really.
sounds positive.
Yeah, it is. It's very positive. And starting to write some of my own material as well to sort of, I think I've led such a fucking batshit crazy life. Why not commit it to paper?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to read. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so yeah.
Before I finish with you, which is a ridiculous way to say it, are there any lines from characters that you've loved, and could you repeat them in your fantastic voices, if possible?
Do you like this one? You and I are pledged to violence, for now and always. That was Aya in Assassin's Creed. And she also calls herself Poets of the Kill, and I thought there was something quite poetic and beautiful about that. And I just love how rude Carillion is. She's just rude on every single line. So she's like, you know, she's all like keep up, lumberfoots. What else? Like, oh, you're pathetic, mayflies. Just like her life is so hard because she has to be, you know, squandered with this. She's wasted with this tree. People follow her around. She's like, keep up, mayflies. So that's another one of my favorites. And I don't know the whole speech, but I remember, I just remember performing Samantha Trainor's white picket fence speech that she says to Femchef, which I found incredibly beautiful and moving when she did it. But don't ask me to repeat it because I can't.
I know. That was actually a very emotional performance, I thought.
It made me cry when I did it, so it should be an emotional performance. Oh, and of course, could one thing in this fucking world stay fixed? I think that's the line.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
It was pretty much the line. It was close enough. If fans are watching, they'll either be like, that was the exact line, or they'll be like, you fucked that up, Alix.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time.
I hope I can come on again in the future. It was really fun.
Yeah, I would love to chat to you when those 2 games break. Contact you again.
Yeah, sounds good.
We can talk about
Definitely.
that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruben. Bye.
Bye.